What is going on, everyone? Astrologer Rosen here. This is your October horoscope for your zodiac sign. If you know both your sun and your rising sign, this is the horoscope for you. We're going to be diving into a little bit of what this Libra solar eclipse means for you, but also talking about what does the Jupiter going retrograde mean for you as well. These are big implications. Let's get into this astrology. So first of all, solar eclipse in Libra. Best way to use this horoscope to apply to your sign for whatever area of life that comes through is whatever decisions that came up, whatever the injustices were, things didn't go the fair way that you wanted to, the outcomes, it didn't feel good. Literally like a year ago, like go back to end of October. What were those things? If it didn't go well, try the other door this time. For example, if you got into a relationship with someone that was a roll of the dice, maybe don't get into a relationship in this new 6-month cycle in Libra, or choose someone that's actually up to your caliber of your value. If you spent more time following your creative pursuits, but some things didn't work out and there were more other ways you probably should have been saving up financially, like doing a job situation or something to earn consistent income, try the other door. So whatever this comes up for in your astrology, pay attention to that. And then I'm going to pepper in a little bit of satire with the Jupiter retrograde because it deals very much with the story and the outlook on life. So, there's going to be some probably of my dry Capricorn humor in it. So, Libra eclipses definitely deal with relationships first and foremost, but it can also deal a little bit with the abstract nature of our values. Do we actually feel good in terms of our success? Is the sunset peaceful? Do things feel good? Do things feel diplomatic? Is our communication good? Do we feel justified? Do things feel fair? Probably not. It's the South Node in Libra along with this eclipse energy. So it's like, it tends to be a little bit more of a dud with the South Node eclipses, if you know that astrology, where it's like, it's more karmic. I hate to say it, but there's more lessons. So it's like Groundhog saw a shadow, like 6 more months of like relationship lessons and people crying over spilled milk saying life's not fair. Sorry, but that's just South Node Libra stuff. Trying to get my camera straight here. So, and then the Jupiter retrograde, that's tough because the gifts, the abundance feels like they're flowing when Jupiter is direct, but then all of a sudden when it goes retrograde, it's like the deflating energy. And so in Gemini, it's hard because it's already in its fall position anyway, because Jupiter wants the biggest stuff. Gemini is like all the small little details, the stuff that we're used to, our circumstances. It can sometimes feel like nothing new is really coming in. The world's not really changing our circumstances, our environments, our outlook the way that we want it to. It can even be overwhelming thinking for sure. And so at least when it retrogrades, like, we can get a break from the overwhelm of thinking, but we gotta be really careful not to go into really negative fucking stories. And I'm stressing the F-bomb there on purpose because that's gonna be the satire part of all 12 signs. So as always, we start with Aries. So Aries, this is definitely a solar eclipse on October 2nd that is hitting with your relationships, your ways of communication. Pay attention. I would look at this like if you were successful in relationships and communication a year ago, like look at the past year of your life, cool. Consider keep doing it and like weigh it out if you want to keep going. If it didn't go well, you most definitely should consider weighing out and not go harder and doubling down into toxic relationship energies, toxic ways of like thinking, communicating to the world. That's going to be a no-no. And then when it comes to this Jupiter retrograde, this is in your 3rd house of like Chicken Little energy, like, oh my God, the sky is falling. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like the wind blew and a twig fell off the tree in your backyard that you just mowed and you're like bitching about that. It's like getting like upset and losing your whole mind over like little things, like, oh my God, like it's so bad. And it's like someone could be like walking by like a neighbor or something, be like, I thought you were in Aries, like I thought you were tough, like, but you got Chiron in your sign, which that's the trouble, is like your perception of your reality is going to very much look like how you're viewing and seeing yourself. So it's like start with numero uno with your self-identification and definitely do some healing on that. It's definitely going to paint more of a positive outlook when you know your strength, Aries. When it comes to Taurus, this Libra eclipse is in your 6th house, your day-to-day life, your health routine, your, dare I say, schedule circumstances, stress levels, like your job, work energy, like it's a bummer energy because it's like, oh, it's like there's no whistle while you work type thing. It can feel like the present moment of reality sucks. It's not peaceful and beautiful. But you got to get over that with this eclipse by looking back and going, okay, what was my outlook on reality that you had maybe some high expectations of it being beautiful in a certain way, and then it actually wasn't, and then maybe you started to build your life around a relationship or even a job that you thought was going to bring you some peace and it didn't. So it's like, try the other door if it didn't work, and if it did work, cool, keep going, right? That Jupiter retrograde in Gemini for you is definitely going to be money related, money, currency, value exchanges of your goods, services, your talents, your abilities, your self-worth. I don't feel like this is going to hit you too hard, Taurus, just because if you keep the stability up of the momentum of what you're already doing, that actually feels fun, positive, creative, the story doesn't need to change too much. You can almost it's like sliding under the door. It would be like if you could be like Indiana Jones and like, oh, the door closed in life and the money's not flowing, or this project's delayed, or the story of the feel-good energy of how I thought the details and communication of a project was going to go, it's not working. And then it's like, well, can you just like Alice in Wonderland, Indiana Jones, slide under the door that already fell down? I think you can. So it's sort of a really interesting subconscious tweak to make where you can kind of go like, wait a second, like you've got a lot of free will, Taurus. Like there's a lot of doors that will still be open, even if it feels like you're playing musical chairs with some things a little bit, like you're gonna be okay. So it's like, don't piss and moan just because you've got to redo some stuff or relearn some stuff or try different things or different perspectives from things that you've already tried. The worst thing you could do is try to make it some factual thing of deflation of no, it's not working, it's a piece of shit, throw it away, the project needs to be scrapped, start over. That's where you would get lost. So don't do that. When it comes to our beloved Geminis, and not every sign's beloved, but Gemini, you have a great opportunity here for this Libra eclipse to see what stubborn, stagnant situations you had around everything with love that you want to redo from this past year. So love, romance, self-love, kids, just the romanticizing of life, even your creative passions. If you were too fixed on it needing to feel and be a certain beautiful way, almost like you're trying to control the sunset in life, A, stop that. And B, I think you at least got the clarity from a courageous place. It's a hard vitality knowing of oh, this situation can't go on. My heart's not in it. I've got to try that other doorway. And then if some things in these areas did work out, cool, your heart's open. You're like, oh, keep doing it, duh. You just keep going. But with the Jupiter in Gemini piece that lands in your sign, this is gonna not, this depends. It depends how you view yourself, Gemini. If you see yourself as a positive, kind of confident that Jupiter rising in your rising sign energy of I'll figure it out. It doesn't matter the circumstances, the story, I'll figure it out, and still have a sense of humor about yourself and life, and you can laugh at yourself. You'll keep things positive. I don't see it going really bad for you because it's a redirect energy no matter what. It might even feel like you're exploring the other side of yourself more. Jupiter is so big and it retrogrades, and it's flips over whatever the underbelly is of the side that you haven't been looking at within yourself, of that dualistic twin nature as a Gemini. So just look at it with neutrality, positivity, fun. Oh, wait, there's this crazy thing about me. I wonder what I can learn about me this time, this in this 12-year cycle of Jupiter in my sign and also retrograding. So that's how I would use that. When it comes to Cancer, you are awesome. Every sign's awesome, but you're particularly awesome because if you can be okay with not falling for the comforts of whatever it was that you fell for, like whether that was like, let me just push down my emotions about a relationship situation or try to get comfortable in a relationship that wasn't working or not valuable. You let the emotions like rise up, and the awesomeness is in like your emotions like kind of leading and being like, nope, I'm going to plant my foundation emotionally in this direction. I'm not doing that again. I'm not making that decision again. I'm going in a better, more positive space for my life. I feel like change is in the air for you, Cancer. You know, like it's okay to toughen up and go in those directions that you need to go in those areas. When it comes to the Jupiter going retrograde, which is going to be in your 12th house, Cancer, it's like get right with God moment. You know, like you might have a lot of influences energetically, subconsciously. This could bring up all types of stuff. It could be beliefs around religion, you know, stuff from your parents that's being aired out, just social stuff you just subtly pick up on and don't even realize that creates your world narrative of the friends that you hang out around the most and communicate with. And then, but also sometimes like isolate from, or you isolate yourself from the world. It's like a get right with God moment to be like, hey God, like where do you really want me to be at in terms of my thinking that's going to be the most positive for me, that I can make better improvements? How can I improve my communication? How can I be a better light worker, a better spiritual person that can be, in a weird way, almost like more gentle, by learning that you can actually take on a lot of data and stuff, conversations with people before you like rupture. Like there's plenty of space for it. It's in the 12th house, right? It's boundless. So, you know, I think the satire version is just like, don't self-sabotage and pop your own bubble of your own beliefs and say it's all going to hell or something from like some crazy story from like a bad day that you had. Like definitely look at like the long term, at least a week of your life, see how the overall circumstances are going, and judge if you need to make major change in your life before you go just like doing something crazy because of a bad day. When it comes to Leos, you get this opportunity to look very much at your mindset. This is your third house energy, right? Like this is like, are there any places of poverty mindset that you had this last year? Is there any place like where your thinking and the way that you approached relationships, the way you communicated about relationships or talked about people wasn't really in alignment? It could feel like a merry-go-round in your mind a little bit, like you're like, it's so close. I'm almost there. I found the positive thing, the factual thing, the outlook of my life that's going to be the beautiful, perfect sunset. And it's going to be like, you're going to feel like you're going through the wheel of time or the wheel of fortune or something in different decades of different eras, going, well, the sun's setting every day, but like one day I feel like a grandpa, one day I feel like a dad, one day I feel like a kid. It's kind of like weird because you have to be okay with like this surplus energy of knowing that you're going to be okay as long as you keep your outlook positive with the solar eclipse. It's just like, don't go chasing nostalgic energies is like a big one, to try to like create or move some facts into your life that's going to make it more beautiful. It's more just like taking it in as it is, like, oh, this is what's beautiful in my life now. Now this is where I'm at. This is the beauty. It's not that thing from 10, 20 years ago. It's this thing now. And then with Jupiter in Gemini retrograde, it still definitely deals with people. You could say connections in the world, service, but also like, I hate to say blending in, but it's more like the empathy of the commonality of like, you know, where you have a story, everyone has a story. You can talk about that story for better or worse. You can get clear on that story. You can give advice, but you can also receive advice just as well. It's like making sure that you're not just like trying to be electric, just like that your version of your reality or your story is the best. And so when it deflates, you can be like, oh, actually, like I do need to talk with someone about this belief system or this narrative or this thought processes in my head. And, receive is a big one, but also like check yourself too. Like if you're like giving advice, like do I really live that? Do I really do that thing? Does that actually my behavior of my belief that I'm like sharing with other people? Do I actually show up that way? That's a big one. So, comedically, it's just like, don't worry that the world is like some bad, scary place it's like shrinking on you or something. And then your positive like ideas and hopes somehow are like put on hold, like your future. It's more so just a planning phase for you getting really clear on the vision on like where you want to go with it, Leo. Virgo, this is your second house for Libra. So money situations, people, relationships, transactions, earning your keep. How do you balance out your values and your skills to like make things go better with finance and partnership situations and quality? And honestly, even like F that for a little bit. Like, are you happy with like those things that you're doing? Because that's what this really brings up is like, are you creating and doing work, money stuff, project stuff to people please like someone else and their values? And it's like, no, you can't be doing that. You've got to make sure it's in true alignment for you. So I would be very much looking at the details of like whatever happened the past year that felt like lopsided in terms of the effort that you put into a project or a relationship or some situation that you wanted to go well to be of value, and it didn't like the reward didn't like match the effort or something, or the other person wasn't holding their end of the bargain. It's making decisions that's going to make sure that that goes in a better, more positive direction, that it doesn't just like show up, as like you're expecting the perfect manufactured sunset just by like, I hate to say it, but like laziness. Like you're going to have to make some decisions there, especially too when that Jupiter goes retrograde in your 10th house of your career, your public achievement, your goals, even purpose, destiny, life path stuff. You got to make sure that you're not thinking that you were so close to getting to the big prize and maybe you didn't even set the prize as the mark of the goals like that big of a thing, Virgo, but you feel like you're like winding up short or something and that your whole world is like ending or like some failure or something. You just got to make sure that like it's a character test. It's a big philosophical lesson. Can you see that your thoughts really do influence your reality, including the challenges of how they show up? And to like not also, like I mentioned, I think for Aries earlier, be like Chicken Little, like the whole zenith of my reality is like falling down because of this one thing. And like I'm creating this one negative story. So use it as a lesson. And then also the adage, use it or lose it. Like, if you don't need it, if you don't need the thought, the story, the belief, if it's not serving you for overcoming any adversity or challenge to reach your goal, then what the fuck is it for? Just put it aside. So when it comes to Libras, this solar eclipse being in your sign again is going, okay, well, you've been working on yourself, re-identification stuff over the past year, how you liking yourself. If you feel like you got off kilter at some point, you got out of alignment, maybe you need to go back to the grind of back to scratch of going like, hey, okay, like, wait, how did I get off the mark of who I am or who I'm becoming? That's a big one, right? Hopefully you're already heading in that positive direction and that momentum, but also be really simple and honest and don't fib to yourself, like also, and be like, are you actually being on a very consistent basis, meaning also you're taking actions as that person, keyword actions, and it's not just the, philosophical piece of it because that Jupiter retrograde is happening in your 9th house, that it's not just like you're trying to just keep the positivity and keep the levee up, and keep the waters high in your emotions and your thinking and positivity just by the thinking and the belief and the hopes alone. You're actually going to have to identify with that character development that you probably desperately need to like shift or change about yourself that's actually going to produce the results. Because remember, first house rising, this eclipse, it's a bummer because it's a south node, but it's an Aries based energy. That's why the rising sign is identity. So you got to be okay with the Aries gets pissed when it doesn't get what it wants. And so you don't want this Jupiter retrograde to be this like deflating thing where you didn't have a clear grasp on the tangible vision that's like attainable, that's actually within your grasp, that you can actually do right now. It's like, it's good to have big hopes and dreams, but also like, what's the things that you're doing in that, next 6 months, next year, like when those goals are realistically that far out, like what are the behavioral changes, like who are you being different and showing up as? So it's very much a difference in who you are and how you see your life and reality and the beliefs that need to shift, Libra. When it comes to Scorpios, it's tough because you'll have to look at your last year of your patterns of escapism. That's a big one. Fantasies, delusions. I hate to say it like, because it can seem harsh, Scorpio, but South Node in the 12th house is creepy. It gets really weird. And it seems like, oh no, I'm spiritual, or I'm being spiritual, or God's helping me, or this. And it's like, are you sure that's God? Are you sure that's not like some like demon, like dressed up, like with white fucking clothes and, blonde hair or something, like Antichrist energy? I know it sounds crazy, but you got to watch for those relationships, Scorpio, that seem shiny and they're not, and not getting seduced into those things. So if you ran into any of that, and you just really couldn't live with the results of it, and almost like felt like you're self-sabotaged, or it's shame that's hard to overcome, or you spent so much time overcoming guilt and shame around it. Well, cool. Well, don't do it again. Don't repeat the patterns. Pick something that actually feels like truly valuable. Like, what's the real sunset? It's probably going to be going and facing your crazy irrational fears that have been driving you to make decisions to go in a weird direction, and to just like keep looking at those things and keep going, nope, I'm staying in the facts of reality. And especially with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, it can get really thirsty really fast, because all this energy definitely brings up for you relationships, sexual energy, go figure, as a Scorpio, money thirst, trying to get like a lucrative gain back for something like that you lost. So you can't like look at it that way, because you'll burn yourself out really quick, which is crazy, because Scorpios, you have everything in the tank to replenish yourself. But like, even the most like ironclad stomach that can just like have bacteria in it eventually like wears down after a while. So you have to be careful about what are you actually using to nourish your soul during this month, to make sure that it's actually tangible substance that's better for your long term, and not just like some short term quick hitting feel good pleasure fantasy escape is a big one. So when it comes to Sagittarius, Sag, you are dealing with people, situations with this solar eclipse in Libra, where new ways of connecting in community, where you can be regarded in community, or you need to like regard your community more, friends. Like, this definitely deals with like, which end of the spectrum are you on? Which end of the seesaw are you on? What needs more balance? Do you need to like be more humble among people? Do you need to like rise your vibration up and be more like exciting and positive, and like all the positivity of being a Sagittarius? Because definitely with Jupiter retrograde in your 7th house in Gemini, with people, relationships, people you're closer to, it's being okay with like the deflating energy of like, maybe someone moves away from you for a little bit, like energetically, physically, like the conversations are just not as close to you, or your circle feels like it gets smaller. Like Sag, I would look at this as like, oh, it's okay, winter's coming, like I'm just going within. I'm like, hermiting just a little bit sooner than normal for a new creative potential or something that wants to come within you. But then again, on the other side too, it's like make sure you're still connecting with people and you're not just like withdrawing like from the world, you know. So it really depends how'd you use the last year. If you were really going out in the world, maybe you got to contract a little bit. If you were like really kind of contracted but thinking about going out in the world and putting yourself out there more, cool, now's the time to do it. Don't fuck around anymore. And you know, this definitely deals with social stuff. This deals with being okay of the equality of communication, you know, that like, I know Sag like to be the guru and the, you know, you're a good student of life, but you like to show up as the teacher, right? With all the experience. You have a lot to share and a lot to say, but also make sure that you're putting it in the right places in the world. And it's weird because it can feel like a contact sport where you got to get some bumps and bruises energetically to be like, oh, actually, I wasn't meant to share that story with those people, or my philosophy, it didn't work. And you just keep finding the right people to express it to. So when it comes to Capricorn, it's tough because you've got to really start to look more strategically at your career, at your long term of where you're wanting to go with this solar eclipse in Libra, which can be uncomfortable because I think you've been in this survival based mode for so long, but like now this is meant to be like the springboard, the spring shot to get you like out of survival and to actually start to thrive and make decisions that feel like a thrive mindset that's beautiful and not like the just like getting by energy, because Jupiter retrograding in your 6th house can feel a little bit like, fuck, the work is never done. Like, wow, like my sales are really deflated, you know, there's a lot of effort. I really got to show up and really put the effort into this thing. So it's like, at least pick something long-term that even if there is a little bit of like suffering energy where it feels like, wow, like I really got to like find my karma yoga philosophy of like, well, this sucks, but I got to show up and work it anyway, because these are work houses for you, 6th house, 10th house with these transits, where it's like, at least you pick something worth grinding for. At least it's something that is good. At least it's something positive for your long term. I'll even give you a bonus, Capricorn, because I know you're going through Pluto and Capricorn again, that the best parts are going to be your heart's inspiration of your creative passions that are going to like show you what is just clear, that's more on a purposeful alignment piece. It's not going to be so much from a strategy based standpoint, that choosing the right thing, because that's a tough thing. You got to do your long-term stuff that's a trajectory, but it's the passion projects where things actually excite you, and that the consistency of doing them day after day, that becomes easier just because you're doing shit that's exciting. Don't do doldrum things, Capricorn. Like, don't hang yourself out to dry by just like be like, oh, I'm just going to do this job for this or money or for stability, or, you know, you think it's going to be beautiful, but it's like not. And at the same time too, you got to look at the directions that you chose last year and going like, oh, well, I was going to do this thing, or I thought about doing this thing. Now let me go this way. Relationships, job stuff, you know, career, long-term stuff. But also, like, was there a place you got caught in the middle too? You know, like where you were too Humpty Dumpty-ish and you didn't like make a decision because you were weighing out a turd and a douche, you know, like the old South Park episodes, like the political thing, very 10th house, right? Like voting between a school mascot of a giant douche and a turd sandwich. So it's like, if you're weighing out fecal shit in your life with Pluto going through your sign, it's time to up your game. It's time to remember your value before Pluto comes back into Aquarius in November 19th and goes, hey, motherfucker, wake the fuck up. So that's your bonus, Caps. Aquarius, you're dealing with a 9th house belief energy again, you know, where how was the experience over the past year for you? Did you like it? Does it taste good? You know, do you feel cultured? Like you got to sample a lot of stuff in life? Cool. Go do more of it. If like there was some stuff that tasted like bitter, like especially in relationships experiences, well, just change your belief and philosophy about relationships and don't go have that experience again thinking it's going to be positive. It wouldn't be insanity. It would just be like you're just reinforcing the, negative belief that you're thinking about, like thinking about this is how the world is, or this is how people are, or this is how people communicate, or their level of intelligence, or something like that. And it's like, well, try looking at it another way, like seeing if you can extend the olive branch and like be that teacher a little bit more to people, Aquarius. And then when it comes to that Jupiter retrograde, it's like, wants to flatline things a little bit. This is definitely dealing with, your love situations, romance. So it could feel like you need to drain the kiddie pool with romance or drama situations with people, or that the dating pool got smaller, or it could be you're having less time with like your spouse or your romantic partner, or even like not feeling like the self-love. Maybe you got to like make sure that your heart's not doing some like what was it, the Grinch that stole Christmas like energy, and you don't even realize it because you're staying busy or something and doing a lot and having a lot of experiences or learning a lot or researching or teaching, whatever it is. And you actually like go into this place of like, was my heart fulfilled? Like, let me nourish my heart, even if it can feel like it's the feeding tube of the heart because it's Jupiter retrograde in your fifth, and going, well, let me just make sure I'm doing self-loving things every day that are good for me. And that's going to be the most positive thing that you can do to get through that transit. So finally, when it comes to Pisces, someone said spicy Pisces once. I'm like, are they spicy though? You're a water sign. That would be more like fire, but I'll call you a spicy Pisces. I don't give a fuck. Pisces, you are dealing with sex, money, drugs, rock and roll energy, with the solar eclipse in Libra. And I say that with a sense of wonder because it's like, you may make sure you don't like do like a wanderlust thing. Like you make sure you actually like want to commit to some chase of some lucrative, positive, beautiful thing that's going to take you in a direction where you're like, yes, this is what I want to be doing. But don't have like the eyes too big for the stomach syndrome of like taking on too much. Look at your last year of where you felt like you were doing too much, and then they weren't the things that were valuable or beautiful. Temper expectations for any changes, of course, but at least like try some tweaks at least to balance out so that your energy feels sustained, that your money flow situation feels all good and well. And then your home family life with the Jupiter retrograde, it's like, at least Jupiter's cradled there, it's a Cancerous energy, like Cancer, like likes to be there. It's good vacation energy. So retrograde, I think, like clean the house, do the domestic things, do them slow. Find a slow vibe. Find your slow winter vibe, even though I know it's the fall, but the astrology has winter vibes to it, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna flow with this thing, I'm gonna flow with it. I'm gonna go gentle and not like too much, energy that can feel like 1 minute you're cleaning the corner of the table, the next minute you're picking up a sock, the next minute you're filling up a water pitcher, and it's like, well, did you even clean that whole table? Did you even find the other sock? Like, did the water pitcher even need to be filled? And like having a little bit of like poise, flow, and thinking to like just the domestic day-to-day around the house stuff. And then that naturally clears up any perceptions of family situations, how you really feel deep down. It's just an overall self-care thing of like the slowing down piece. So that's it. If you guys want to learn what is up for your sun sign with Pluto and Capricorn, because that's still till November 19th, you can click on that link down below. I have an astrology ebook out as well that teaches you all the placements of your natal birth chart. You can click on that link. And as always, if you want a natal chart reading or a deep dive astrology reading that teaches you the cycles that you're in, those links are down below as well. And for those that really want to learn astrology, I have my astrology school that I did in 2022, 2023. I don't know, it's so weird. Pluto and Capricorn like blurs time together. That link will be down below as well if you want to jump in on the 10+ hour recordings of that school. Hope everyone has a great month of October. Love you. See you next month.